Dearly redheaded, we are choosing consciousness today to get through this thing called grief. Interesting word, grief. It means love, which makes for a mighty good joke. But I'm here to tell you, there's nothing else. Just joy. And if the big picture tends to bring you down, go crazy once your life goes. Woo!
Hey, Brian.
Hi, Joe.
Why do you call me Joe?
I think you told me to.
Never would.
Oh, I thought you did.
No, it's just...
Hi, Joanne.
So few people call me Joe,
Oh,
and when they do, I'm just always curious as to why.
I swear to God, the first time I met you, you were like, whatever you want. If
No.
I get out of line, you said something like, if I get out of line, just say, Joe, bring it back. I don't know.
But
Yeah.
I hear you. That's a good reason.
Sorry.
No need to be sorry.
I'll just, ma'am, from now on.
God. Sorry I said anything. Holy shit.
It's your fault.
Usually is. This is our 4th week of taping.
Yes.
And I talked to myself the first week, and then I had guests 2nd, 3rd, and 4th week. And I really had some come to Jesus thoughts the last week about, what am I doing? I've talked about wanting to talk about psychology, spirituality, neurology, philosophy, comedy. But really what I'm doing is, having had the mirror held for me, now I'm wanting others to step on their own path or talk about people that are well on the path. So it's a culmination, I guess you might say. Dina, in week 2, we discussed the difference between serial sedation and alcoholism, and how she really found strength through external means to now build her business and helping others. Then Jesse, in week 3, Jesse, being autistic, is on his path, but I found those particularly powerful because of just how the brain is different and how Jesse sees things very, very similarly in concept to me, whereas the topics may be different. Like conceptually, I really related to how he sees things. Like when he is off-putting to somebody and they respond aggressively, he says he has no empathy for that type of reaction, and that was really powerful to me because that is like the misplaced empathy that we take on as autistics, which isn't really about empathy. It's our self-preservation. And then Perry just, I think, blew our minds.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And, Perry's been a friend, acquaintance of mine as a result of meeting him initially, knowing how big his heart was. When I spoke to him yesterday, I made the assumption he came from more of, just because of his age, 65, growing up with, a father and boys. I mean, his father was remarkably, I don't want to say, I don't even know how to say what a remarkable man his father must have
It
been.
sounds like it, that's a situation that you're thrust into,
And
So.
he didn't abuse substance. He didn't abuse his boys. He,
Right.
went through. He smoked cigarettes. That's what he did.
If that's your only flaw.
It's just to come out of that unscathed, in a sense, and be able to look at yourself and your own rage and examine that and have justifiable reasons, as Perry did, for his emotional outbursts, but then to turn him around and put him to good work. I thought the way he credited the women along the way was neat. friends, his grandmother. I mean, it's at the end when we were done taping. Brian and I spoke with Perry a little more, and it's almost like he's just waking up to the extent of what he's able to do for others. He's known all along in increments, but like really the impact of his story.
Yeah, there's something to be said for him as a person to be able to experience what he experienced. And if you haven't heard that yet, go back and listen to it. But that is enough. I don't know if I could handle what he went through, like for real. That we both sat here in tears, just for what his son and his daughter-in-law had to go through, what he had to experience. Everybody in that situation, like that's enough to kill some people,
Yeah, I couldn't.
That was incredible. I like I said, I don't know it's got me tearing up now just talking about it. I don't know if that's something that I would be able to handle. I'd like to think I could, but
I'd like to think I could too, but my means of getting there from my own trauma was different, and I need to talk. I wasn't going to talk about myself because I am so really, really more interested in what I said initially, putting people on their path or finding people on their path, however you want to look at it. And I look at that as individuation. I look at that as examining your shadow, making the unconscious conscious. I'm a big one for whatever resonates. On a side note, I went to a healing event last night, and it was a women's circle, and it was lovely. But I was really intrigued by, and I don't want to make this sound negative because it wasn't negative. It's just one way of, as intuitives, there's many of us. And when you do the work and you do the research and whatever that means, the gurus, the books, however you get to whatever resonates with you is such an individual journey. So when someone, as an intuitive or a healer or a teacher, is so specific in their opinions, it pisses me off. And I last night, free will kept coming up, and I am not a believer in free will. Used to be, and then a certain amount of things happened, and I went, oh, fuck it. This really isn't what I thought. And I finally said something because I have no problem looking like an asshole. It's a gift. And I didn't do it to offend the healer. I just did it to say, there's 15 women in this room, and some of them are just stepping on the journey, and you can't assume a fucking thing. People always tell me what I should read or a program I should see, and I say, tell me to write. Tell me to talk. I don't need to watch Miss Maisel. For the 700 people who told me I should check that out over the years, and no disrespect, it's an excellent program. It's just not, you need to find what resonates with you. And for somebody like Perry, who just sort of naturally, just experienced things and was able to get the spirituality out of all of it to become Santa Claus. I mean, Jesus Christ. And neither of us swore the whole time. I noticed that yesterday when he and I were doing I hesitated to talk to him yesterday, but it ended up being very, very worthwhile based on what we were trying to get in today. But, he swears, I swear. But, it was just, there was this certain respect about Santa Claus.
I could have on the naughty list.
I could have made it dirty 1,700 times, and it was just like, you know, I can't help that part of me, but it just was amazing. So yeah, I think I'm going to start my story in a way that's got some training wheels on it, because I'm also working on telling it to, I think I've mentioned before, this woman, Lucia, out of Colorado, who's doing what's called the Brave Women's Project. And she basically wants me to shed light on covert abuse in families and in marriages. She wants me to talk about CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I was diagnosed in 14 or 15, did about 10 years of work before having a severe dissociative episode, which is tied to my childhood. I've been dissociating since I was a child. Even saying that here, and I know I've alluded to it before because I brought up Daryl Hammond, so we have touched on it. But I think when we touched on it, I was more or less trying to make people aware of how prevalent it is, and not just in women. I'm always trying to include men in all of this, because there's so much pain in both genders and all genders, which goes back to Perry, why I wanted Perry here. Perry writes so beautifully and expresses himself so well. You know, he'll post a picture with a newborn on his arm as Santa Claus. He's just got that, you know, ability to make you feel a certain kind of way. So yeah, so I'll start talking about me, but I have a follow-up from that comedy contest. Oy vey. I have such a mixed relationship with stand-up, because if given a choice, I'd stand on stage for an hour and talk about it's either, you know, spirituality or blowjob jokes. I don't have that in-between stuff. And a lot of comedies, that in-between stuff. And I'm not so good at that. I mean, I have no issue writing jokes all the time. I write all the time. You know, poetry to blowjob jokes. I mean, it's, you know, whatever. And the book is Laugh So I Don't Die, and that's going to address a lot of stuff from my history that I don't necessarily want to discuss here, but I'll probably end up doing it. What I'd like to do is write it and then maybe read it here. But I digress. So I hadn't done, after my mom passed in May of 24, I got up and did stand up probably 10, 12 times, just to make sure. I hadn't done it in 15 years, just to make sure I still could do it. And I enjoyed it, but I don't love it. I don't love the environments. I don't love, and it's still very male dominated. I'm in finance. Male domination is, I in finance, at least I have some sort of equity, no pun intended. But in comedy, it's just hard, and it's really a 3D environment. It's really hard to be around people that it just means so much to them, and it doesn't mean that much to me. It means I get to make people think. I get to make them heal. Yeah, I want to make them laugh, but not nearly as much as I want them to heal and to think. So I entered a comedy contest. Should I say where?
You can. I don't know. I don't see a problem with it.
Wisecrackers at the Mohegan. And I went there the week before to read the room. Room's really nice, but there was some red flags for my type of comedy that first night. I don't think anybody swore. And I asked owner, manager, whatever, I said, did I enter a clean comedy contest? I missed something in the small print. And he said, no, or was over email. He said, you just can't say the C word. And I was like, I don't use it a lot, but I use it. And my piece with the C word came two places. I had a sibling that used to look out the window at cows and go, moo, cunt. And I just used to laugh. I told you that funny, cruel family I came from. And then one day I just decided women are dicks, men are cunts. And I took the blow out of, the word cunt. So when I use it, it's usually surrounding a joke. It's not meant to offend. And I have people in my life who can't handle it, and I don't use it. And it's not this huge thing in my mind. But when you tell me I can't use it, I'm like a 4-year-old. I'm like a dog with a bone. So preparing for the comedy night, even though it was a contest that went on, I thought to myself, I really want to get the video from this. I don't really want to participate in the contest. My video on YouTube under Natural Born Redhead is from 15 years ago, and it's still applicable. I mean, it's still very, very viable. Throw a little gray hair in there. It's the same. So my goal was to come out of it with a video. And the comedians that I saw when I went to check out the room, I didn't think I was going to have a problem being, amongst a certain caliber, let's say. But when I went this last week, the comedy was better. And I was like, ooh, now I really have a decision to make, because I was going to have to pander if I wanted to get more out of it than just the video. And somewhere along the lines, I always ask myself, whose energy am I feeling? Years ago when I did comedy, I used to be Robin Williams. Just his energy, the neurological difference stuff prevailed for me. It was the funniest, neurological comedians versus psychological comedians. I digress. So this time around, I just thought, who am I feeling? I haven't done this in months. I'm doing it cold. I have very large testicles, which I was trying to deflate because I don't like it when my masculine energy takes over, which it often does with comedy, but whatever. I also, on a certain level, don't really give a shit. So I thought, God, I'm feeling really Norm Macdonald-y. Now, that should have been my first red flag, but it wasn't. So I get to the comedy club. We're discussing the C word. One of the comedians, and it was like 17, 18 comedians, one point blank asks why we can't say it. The MC said it had something to do with ownership. I have since found out it has to do with the casino, whatever. And then another woman asked if she could say pussy, and they said, yeah, you can say pussy. And in my head, I'm like, oh, so I can say gash? Like, I can't say cunt, but I can get up there and say fucking gash. Like, this is my sick brain. Like,
it works.
Like, I'm like, Joanne, just like, and ironically, I was tired and I never drink caffeine, and I start sipping on a Coke, and I like caught it about 4 ounces into a Coke. It might as well be a line of cocaine for me. I'm like, ooh, just put the Coke down. All right, so I decide in my infinite wisdom that my first joke is going to be, and I've already told Brian this, my first joke is going to be, I've learned I can't say the C word, and I'm really glad that I asked what it was, because I thought it was Christianity.
Which, in you prefacing the fact that you are channeling Norm Macdonald, if anyone's not familiar with Norm Macdonald, think of it like, the button that says, don't push me. That's the button. I hope that makes sense.
When I tell you crickets, and there's 15 comedians in the audience, and I'm like, no, not one of you motherfuckers can giggle at that. Like, come on. So I then gig. I then go, like I do one of those. And now I'm like, I really have a decision to make because I've already offended these people. They're already offended. So I then tell my golf joke. Now, do you remember if I've ever told that joke here?
I don't recall.
All right, this joke is one of my favorites that I haven't told often because I don't do stand-up all that much, but it's just one of my favorite stories to tell, and I've never had a problem with an audience not loving it, but it's got a thinking component. So now I go from one thinking component joke. I'm like, and I'm like enjoying this. It's like when a man says no to me. That's how turned on I am, right? So here's the joke. And I had already explained to the audience that the nicknames for my sons were Dick Lick and Cocksuck. That fell on crickets. I expected that. I expected that one, but I didn't expect the joke to die. So my son, Dick Lick, has been caddying at a prestigious Westchester golf course. Do you remember it now or no?
It's coming back to me, but I cannot remember for the life of me if you did this on the show or not, or if you told me
either can I.
In the past. But
fuck it, I'm telling you.
If not, hey, this could be somebody's first time, so you never know.
Yeah, and this joke has been my favorite since it happened because it's a true story, and I just embellish the truth. So Dick Lick calls me. Very often when Dick Lick calls me, he'll run something comedically by me, get my reaction, and hang up on me. So this particular day, he was very proud to share with me that back in the early 90s, when I had entered finance and I'm bleeding out in South Florida as the second woman hired in 11 years, the boys in the Northeast are having golf tournaments at this prestigious golf course, and in between holes, there's hookers in the woods giving them blowjobs. So my son is very proud to tell me about this. So I don't, whatever. I've heard it all where that stuff is concerned and what the boys in the club get away with. So I said, well, geez, Dick Lick. Can't use my son's name. That's why I'm calling him Dick Lick. I said, you wear a little white suit. You carry a 35-pound bag for 4 fucking hours. You're kind of sucking their dicks too. As a caddy, I say, I'd rather give the blowjob. And my son hangs up on me and life moves on. That fucking joke died. So now I'm super fucked because now I'm like, butt fucking myself. And I cannot wait to see the tape. And then I noticed they red lighted me. I've never had that happen.
Well, is that like get off? I don't know what that, yeah.
When I see the tape, I will know, I think it was premature. Either that or it's the fastest 5 minutes of my adult life.
Does that mean you're done, the red light? Or is that
when
like
it's a solid,
you have your...
When it's a solid. They flash you. I never saw the flash.
Oh.
I looked up after I told a particular joke, and it was solid red. It could have been solid red for 2...
After joke 1.
I don't know when the red light went up. So anyway, I'm just like, God, please give me this video because I paid for it. I'm like, God, please give me. I still don't have it. And I just can't wait to hear the Christianity joke. I mean, and I bet you have giggled 30 times thinking about that. Yeah, I spend a lot of time alone. But it just makes me motivated to get to the place where, with the podcasting, with the books, that I can get on stage and talk to people and be a blue comedic healer. Really?
Mm-hmm.
That was 15 or 20?
We're at 25.
That's 25 fucking minutes?
We're having a good time. I'm not going to shine a red light on you, so it's fine.
Tell me to sit up straight, though.
Yeah, you're okay.
Wow. That was weird.
Yeah.
I also noticed that night, like I always try to help my brain. My brain is not conducive to anything linear or sequential. So that night I had a few words, or abbreviations for how I was going to do my set. And I realized, and I can't believe it's taken me this long, that all I have to do is think of pictures. That's all I have to do. It is so hard for me to get up there and think of the word dicklick or cockstuck. I don't know what those pictures are going to be. Ooh, I just got it. But
how did we settle on those names for your boys, by the way? Can you share that?
There's actually...
Is that a whole episode?
I don't think so. They could probably tell. My mother and I, our terms of endearment for one another was asshole.
Okay.
If we called you an asshole, we adored you. That was just it. So when it came to my boys, I used to call, I'll say one of my sons, I'm going to be careful here, a formidable prick.
Okay.
And that was a compliment. It wasn't like I was screaming at, slapping him. He's a pretty formidable individual. And then from there, one of my sons could probably tell it better, but it came up, and if you knew them, it's very evident who's who.
Okay.
There's a dicklick and there's a cocksuck. And dicklick is the golfer and the caddy, and who now is in corporate finance. Fucking traitor. Yeah, I made life so pleasurable. So one time, a business, I'm always just really careful that I don't disclose too much.
Of course.
A business associate of mine had requested Dicklick to caddy for him. And Dicklick was told, not as Dicklick, but as his name.
Sure.
That, you've been requested, and the caddy master and Dicklick both assumed it was through Dicklick's father.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't assume it was through, even though I'm in finance and his father isn't, they just assumed it came through down that chain. So my business associate knew that Dicklick didn't know who he was. And he waited a few holes and then says to him, as he's going to tee off, he's got the club in his hand, and he says, "So, which one are you, Dicklick or cocksuck?" And Dicklick says, "I'm Dicklick." So the origin, I don't know.
Amazing.
But, it's my way of, it was never meant negatively. Very rarely was swearing negative.
That's apparent. Yeah. You could see that.
It was never meant to be hurtful. But when I was telling that joke at Wisecrackers, I could say, God, people can't believe. That's what I call my sons. And I'm like, yeah, another day in the life there, So maybe we'll stop and then start with my story, as makes my heart palpitate to tell it here. Thank you for listening and supporting Natural Born Redhead. If you follow the bouncing balls, please like and subscribe. If you know someone interested in sparing others grief and inciting joy, message me on Facebook or reach out via my website, Natural Born Redhead. J-Ma.